Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's special presentation brought to you by the Center for Women's Leadership at the Forbes School of Business and Technology. Folks, you are in for a huge treat today as we have with us Professor Bill Davis, who is going to teach you how to be assertive, improve your confidence, and ultimately boost your networking skills. And no one does it better than Bill Davis. I can tell you that he holds a very special place in our hearts here at the Center for Women's Leadership. He has been such a tremendous ally, partner, and advocate since the very inception of the center, and we are so grateful for his ongoing support. For those of you who may not know him, Professor Bill Davis brings an impressive and extensive academic and professional background covering all aspects of business, including consultation, management, leadership, sales, marketing, strategic planning, human resources, and organizational change. He has more than 3 decades of experience working in the beverage industry, specifically for PepsiCo, a Fortune 500 company, where he served in numerous management roles, including frontline, middle management, and executive level leadership positions. Bill is a pracademic who effectively leveraged and transitioned his highly successful business career into academia, where he could teach, support, and inspire others. He's been working in higher education now for nearly 2 decades, where he has served in countless roles, including program chair, lead faculty, assistant professor, and instructional specialist. He's truly dedicated to furthering student learning and student success. I count myself as very fortunate that I get to call Bill Davis not just a colleague, but a very dear friend. And I can personally assure you there is no one at this institution or any other institution who is more passionate about student learning and student success than Bill Davis. We are so excited to have him with us today. It is my pleasure to turn the floor over to Professor Bill Davis.
Thank you very much, Brandy, for that warm welcome. As we talked about, we are friends and colleagues, and so many friends and colleagues in the audience right now, as well as some of the BA of Operations Management Analysis students, which is the program I oversee, and other students that I have known and met and colleagues I've worked with. So a pleasure to be here. If we can go ahead and get the slide presentation going, Misty, and I'll go ahead and start there if that's okay with you, unless you want me to share my screen. Well, Misty, are you there? I think you were going to load it and advance it. I'll go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen then, and because I think that'll work much better for all of us. And so let me do this. Thank you for your patience, because I think that's maybe that'll be the only hiccup we'll have today. So we're pretty lucky. All right. With that said, what I'm going to do is go ahead and share my screen. Now everybody can see this slide, correct? All right. Let's do this. This talk today is about being assertive. It's about networking. And it's going to be practical. I'm going to give you some fundamental things that you do already. And I'm going to talk about some tips and insights to build your confidence. I think when you leave here, one of my goals is that you have some really good understanding of what is going on here in the whole networking process. And I think probably the best way to approach this is to just tell you, yes, I am an advocate of the the Center for Women's Leadership. I believe in their mission, the networking. See right there, networking and professional development. I have attended many of these workshops, events. I always lead with something. I've met interesting people. I've networked with people that I still have friends today. I call them, we talk occasionally. I ask them for their advice. As a matter of fact, when you look at networking, I networked with Brandy. I didn't know Brandy before. I didn't know Misty. We found that common ground over some time. We built some trust. Now, so you're well aware of my style. I'm a servant, transformational, inclusive type leader. I'm very ethical. I'm for the system. I'm team oriented, and I like to bring the best out of people. And one of the ways I've done that in my career, and I'm talking my past career and my present career, is I like to think of myself and see myself as a leader coach. A leader coach unlocks potential. A leader coach looks at the situation, has situational awareness, and understands, okay, what's my role in all this? What am I supposed to do? What's our purposeful goal? What are we trying to achieve? How can I make this employee or this colleague better? How can I contribute, maybe by modeling, so that this employee becomes better? So the first thing I always try to do is understand, what are they after? What's the goal? What are they trying to achieve? How can I help get them there? Is it through support? Is it through building their intrinsic motivation and giving them a sense of choice and competence on a task? And then maybe with their purpose, a sense of meaning and progress. If that's what we're going to do, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do, is make sure I am aware that I see the situations. And I just coach with questions. And I just kind of do that subtly, because I'm focused and I'm looking to build a good relationship. So my hope today, again, is that you walk away with something you can use, right? Some practical tips and ideas and so forth that will work. But before I can do that, what I'm going to ask you for, and we've got a good group here today of 34 participants, I'm going to go ahead and ask you, what are some of your goals for attending this session? See, I'm an extrovert. I'm at the back end of my career. I'm paying it forward. I love what I do. I love this even more than the Pepsi-Cola career I had, and the 7-Up career before that, because in that business, I wanted to refresh you. I wanted to see you succeed. I wanted you to execute well. I wanted you to do the same. It's the same principles here in higher education, because I want to see you succeed. I want you to achieve your goals. Now, in this session, what are your goals? See, it's not hard for me through the decades of experience to be an extrovert, but for some people, they might fear extending themselves. They may feel, I'm not that confident, or I can't be you. Well, you can be better than me. You can be better than you've ever thought you could be. You are very confident. You're very skilled. We're all here together. We've all got backgrounds. We've all got different stories. Dr. Karen Ivey always would say, there's danger in just a single story. See the whole big picture. We're all different. We all have different DNA. Nobody has the same DNA in this world. So when you look at this, think about, what are your goals for attending this session? Please, please, please put them in the chat. If it's something simple as I want to network better, or I want to understand how to ask questions, how to fuel that, how to get that started, please put that in there. And then also too, how would you define networking? Could be just 1 or 2 words, but the more participation, the better, because here's what's going to happen. I'm going to play off of some of those things that are in the chat. And what I'm going to do is see if I can't, through my tempo and through my presentation skills and engaging you, I'm going to see if I can't just help you more and just answer some questions really quickly. And here's what I do, I think pretty good, is I try to connect the content to the learner, to the audience, so that they can apply what they learn. And again, I appreciate you all being here, and I'm just going to look at this here really quick to see some of these things. Roseanne Bensley says, being in the room with others who have respect for Mr. Day. Okay, thank you very much for that. And you know, you said one word there, Roseanne, like-minded. I like to center myself with like-minded people with shared like-minded views and values, and because they will encourage me and I'll encourage them. Encouragers, not discouragers. So thank you for that. Thank you so much. And we've networked well, Roseanne, together. Improved conversations. Absolutely. You're going to get that. You're going to get some tips out of this, Christy. So thank you for attending. Lisa Hins, how do you comfortably invite yourself into a group? I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about ingratiating, you know, a compliment, a story, you know, to bridge in there to get that favorable attention so you can feel comfortable. And I'll show you some steps on that, especially a form acronym that is in one of the articles. Also, too, I've gone out of my way to share a couple articles that I've written before, one on networking, one on assertiveness, and one that I found in the Forbes media that I think you'll like. We'll just take some steps out of that. We'll chunk those things that I feel you can take away. Carlo, thank you for being here. I'd like to improve my ability to network, especially since I'm introvertedly by nature. Absolutely. You know, I was kind of a little bit quiet and tentative if I didn't know the subject area or I was in a room, but you know, I just kind of figured out over time that, hey, my mother used to tell me, you're no better than anybody, but you're no worse. So get out there and put your best out there. I used to do that as a young man, and I broke the ice and I expanded my comfort zone. So that's one way to look at it. But Carlo, I'm going to give you some tips. Mackenzie, I would like to learn more about how to network. Okay, you're going to get it. You're going to get it. Lindsay, networking is the bridge of success. I agree. Here. And really, I'm going to talk about that from a business sense too when I talk about relationship marketing. So let's look at Jason Phillips. I'm terrible at networking, specifically initiating conversations with other people. I will tell you, Jason, I bet you that you do have a network of some people you trust. Those 5 people are in your circle. You got another 15, you got another 50, another 150, some are closer than others. But I bet you go to some of those folks sometimes for advice. And I'm going to show you how to expand on that. But thank you for being honest and open. You're authentic and genuine. Here's Michelle, one of my colleagues and friends. As an introvert, any advice I can get about networking from a great leader, you're going to get it. You're going to get it. We've worked together before too, and you have been so supportive to me. So thank you, Michelle. And then Lindsay, I asked to do the thing outside my wheelhouse. I can reach out to my network. Absolutely. Kimberly, initiating conversations on topics. Okay. You're getting the feel of this, okay? So I want to thank you for that. And how easy is networking? You can kind of see here's something I learned when I started teaching from my mentor. She said, I'm talking 2005, because I said, I want to be able to transfer these skills I got. She's always pay attention to students that have real or perceived apprehensions in a classroom, because sometimes it's just what we perceive, our perceptions. I can't do this. Well, I'm here to tell you can, and I'm here to tell you that you will. You know, I've always used to said to my Pepsi teams, can do, will do. Will do's attitudinal, get the right focus. Can do, it's a skill thing. Let's improve you and get you to do some things. Traits and skills, you know, some of us are natural in that way and some of us aren't. So with that said, let me just say this, and what's going to happen here, you're going to see some slides. I'm going to keep this another maybe 5-6 minutes. Then we're going to get into some Q&A, some questions that I'm going to be asked that I think you'll draw some good conclusions on. But you have an opportunity to get this PowerPoint also through a link that Misty and Brandy will share later. Make it available to you should you want 1 or 2 of these slides. This is something that I've taught professional selling. I believe in this, that successful relationships involve cultivating mutual benefits as a partner. Learn to trust and depend on each other. Trust is built a piece at a time and over time. And I think it's important to understand this, because through networking, you begin to build trust. When you're in the 5 dimensions are honesty, competence, dependability, reliability, likability, right? You hope to like people. All the people that I mentioned here, I've had positive experiences with them. We've interacted. They know me, I know them, but we're honest. and we're consistent and we're competent. We know our subject matter. We know what we know. We know what we don't know. We know that we have to bridge and connect. But dependability is strictly, can we depend on you to do these things? They depended on me to show up today. I showed up. Can we rely on you to deliver your best? Absolutely. I'll put something together. See, that's just an example. I'm using myself. And through that, you want to have good rapport, right? Because one of the things that I've always tried to do is build rapport with people and build that whole marketing network, build that whole network of resources, because it's an asset to me. It's an asset to my success. I'm able to get things done. Power is not a bad word. It's part of the French Raven taxonomy, the ability to get things done the way you'd like them done. I'm going to tell you, I'm team oriented, I'm relationship oriented, and I was always depended on to motivate the sales teams, get them going, move toward your goals. Let's get some execution. Here's the timeline. I mean, that's the way we did that. And in higher ed, I just became even a better leader coach to help students succeed, because we're all in this to see the students. That's why we exist, because students matter and we want them to know that. We want to enrich them, empower them, support them, and we want to graduate them. So anyway, you've got an opportunity. What trust is, the belief that one party will fulfill its obligation to another. And really, when you're networking, you're not looking for anything. There's no expectations in the beginning, right? So what I want to do for you is I'm just going to jump around here because I made some notes. And since I'm looking at my screen, what I wanted to tell you, the definition for networking is just the action or process of interacting with others to exchange information, develop professional or social contacts. When I look at my world today, what's relevant? I'm going to tell you, I look at concentric circles. There's a good book I read here called You Coach You by it's pretty recent too, Helen Tupper and Sarah Ellis. And they talk about relationship building in here, and they reminded me of concentric circles, 5, 15, 50, and then 150. And depending upon where you're at in your career, in that 5, your family, the people that you're closest to, the 15, the 50, and people are kind of moving in and out of there depending upon where you're at. You're going to rely on them a little differently, but they're still in your network, right? You still got a lot of people that for different situations as they arise. But to think of networking as a process, think about it with others so you can have that information exchange, you can develop contacts, and they're going to ask me some questions later about some of the people that I network with and what were the benefits, right? People buy benefits, WIFM, most listened to radio station, what's in it for me? Not that we go in there looking for anything, but there has to be value, right? Meaningful and desirable. I will tell you that I have gotten more value from Michelle, from Misty, from Brandy, my colleagues, Roseanne. I mean, they've taught me something in this whole dyadic process. Maybe I'm leading, but they're leading on certain issues. And all of a sudden I'm learning. I'm getting an opportunity because I network with them to see how they do it. You saw how Brandy put together there with Misty. I think Brandy did it with the music and everything else, her technical abilities. She showed me how she does that sometimes, and I don't do it all the time, so some of that I forgot. But because she's in my network, I've got a resource I can go draw from. See how that works? So you want to be conscious of all that. And you don't go into networking. I'm going to give you some tips looking necessarily for something. But in the business I was in the Pepsi business, I had over 5,000 accounts in Chicago, and I had a team of 170 people, somewhere inside, somewhere in production. But I had account executives. We called on 120 independents, 170 some chain stores, buyers. We worked in the community. We had 357 convenient and gas stores, wholesalers, general business, high schools. Think about the number of people that were in my network. Not that I knew them all. A lot of them were out in the surface, right? I mean, I'd be in a trade, I'd see people, but I didn't know them all that well. They were more acquaintances, but I understood how they were associated. But in my network, you could bet that in a lot of those channels that I just described, I knew certain people that I could exchange information with, that would give me tips, that would educate me, would teach me those things. So I was always aware of relationship marketing, and all relationship marketing is the practice of building long-term, satisfying relationships with key parties, customers, suppliers, distributors, in order to retain their long-term preference in business. All right. And what happens is I was showing you how I built trust, right? This slide before, you all seen this. And what happened is because I earned their trust, because we modeled consistency, because we always worked with a positive attitude. We helped others. We equipped people for success. What happened is people noticed that, and it was easy to do business and transactions with people because you had a reputation. Your reputation follows you throughout your career. Never forget that. So you want to have integrity. You want to be consistent. You want to serve others. I'm a servant leader. But once you start to do that and you get into a network, trust starts to develop. They see your intent. They see you're consistent. They see you're dependable. And relationship marketing is one thing that I practiced then and now. Now, I don't call it relationship marketing in here, but it is similar. I've got people, and remember those concentric circles, the 5, the 15, the 50, the 150. When I look at all that and I think, boy, I'm lucky. I am around so many smart, bright people in such a wonderful system like University of Arizona Global Campus, Forbes School of Business, the Center for Women's Leadership. I am lucky because I'm learning. They stimulate me. I see things. We help. They teach. You see, I got that because I built successful relationships. So if I call, they take the time. They don't delay me. They say, well, I'm going to be free this afternoon. Let's see if we can't connect really quick. See, we earn that from each other. Never forget that. But smart marketers try to build long-term, trusting, win-win relationships, right? It's win-win, benefit for you, benefit for me. And the likability kicks in. People start to trust one another and they share with each other. But relationship marketing does turn into strong economic, technical, social ties among the parties, right? And so remember that. And then also remember there's so many of those benefits. And basically, you've got relationship marketing now. So you're seeing that. Now, the other thing I wanted to do for you, I'm going to just show you this article real quick. I'm not going to open this article. I'm just going to give you some tips about it. This is the Forbes article. It's from the Young Entrepreneur Council, How to Network the Right Way. Here's 8 tips. I like this. I read it. I said, well, I'm going to keep this. And I saved it. It's an older article. But it says it talks about when true networking occurs, when there's an understanding that everyone in the room has equal value in its purest form. It's about people, enjoying people, right? I mean, when you're on a team, together everybody achieves more. When you got a winning team, there's morale, there's focus against goals, it's focused against a vision, a mission. We're all working for the same benefit to students, for the student success. We start to enjoy each other. We start to look forward to the calls, a little bit of the small talk. How's your dogs? How's the family? Everybody. We bridge up, but we're focused, right? And we're sharing our passions. We're connecting with other people, and they introduce us to other people. And before you know it, Misty, Aubrey, other people, Sabila from Florida, all of these people in the Center for Women's Leadership, all of a sudden are taking time with Bill Davis or giving him a tip, or can I ask you something? Sure. And then I get to ask a question, what's it like in this country, or how do you market this? See, that's what starts to happen in exchange. But I didn't go into this with, I want to get to know Misty so I can present in CWL or something. No, that's not at all. You serve and you support and you do it consistently. But remember, when you're networking, it's about figuring out what others need and connecting them with people you think can help without any designs for personal gain. There is no expectation. Just go into it with an open mind, get to know people, and I'm going to show you some techniques on how to do that. And again, they go beyond that. What's in it for me? You'll know when you develop these relationships, and you'll develop acquaintances, but the true people in the 5, 15, 50 circle, you're going to know who they are, and you're going to know how to work with them. So hopefully right now you're getting some insights. And again, I'll tell you that advice I got came from a principal when I went to a principal's breakfast one time from a K through 12 in the Quad Cities here. And I remember we were supporting a learning program for Thomas Jefferson School. And he took me and I met all the principals in the different communities. And one of them said, always remember, before the rest, your attitude must pass the test. So have a positive attitude. People are going to come in and help you. And the other advice I got was center yourself around people with share like-minded views and values. They will lift you and you will lift them. Encouragers, not discouragers. So put yourself around people in your network that are going to elevate you, enrich you, and build those relationships. Remember, it's about listening and figuring out what others need without any designs for personal gain, because you want to serve and support, you want to lead, coach, and you'll get an exchange in the process, believe me. And successful networks build, here's a key word, genuine relationships, and they give more than they receive. I always believed in the Pepsi business, I used to hear this on the street, some people say there's givers, users, takers. Well, I'm a giver. And yeah, I can't help sometimes, but maybe use some of that because I'm going to get it if I'm in your network and you're going to help me see something clearer or more. And we're going to execute better. We're going to build better relationships. But I'll tell you, when you start to think like that and you're real and genuine. Now, here's what the article said. I've got some notes. When you get this, I'll send this to you, Misty, and you can send this out. But I'll leave the notes in here too, because I was going to read them. Have a plan. Forget your personal agenda. I'm just going to hit the top line. Never dismiss anyone as unimportant. Connect the dots. Figure out how you can be useful to that person. The organization. Follow up and follow through. I have had situations where I've gained more credibility by fixing problems for customers because they knew I followed up. They knew I followed through. I dotted the I, crossed the T. I came back. I said, we'll make that better. We can do this. Let me serve you. I didn't have them find me and chase me. I built trust. Believe in the power of networking. A lot of these people sometimes that you'll start out bad with might end up being very, very close to you, and you'll solidify your position with them. So I believe in that. I think it's true, and you'll have an opportunity for this. Now, here's the other one. This is another article I did. And this particular one is on 10 tips for networking. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these different things, but the article will talk about kind of what I already told you: develop mutual trust, open communication, etc. So, and I've got in here about, the importance of attitude. Something Dr. Laura Palmer Noon said before. She said, remember the 3 attributes for success: attitude, attitude, attitude. You want to focus right. Now, in this book I read, I took this, The Fine Art of Small Talk. Now, this is one of, we had a comment in the chat that said, I want to learn how to ask questions and do different things and get more of a connection. Okay. First thing, be friendly, use a welcoming tone. It's critical. Remember, there's 3 parts of any message. There's a content part, a tone, which is the feeling you set, and then a relational part. That means, do they feel you want to develop that trust, that successful relationship? That's important. Remember how you communicate. Remember your nonverbal cues. Remember your tone. How you approach. So be friendly, do a welcoming tone, introduce yourself first. Now, remember, here's a tip I learned from all my Dale Carnegie training in the 80s and 90s. Is really simple. Sweetest word to a person is their first name. I mean, we all communicate differently, but my advice, don't go into a networking session and go, hey there, hey you. Don't start out like that. Their name: hello, Brandy, it's good to see you again. Misty, it's a pleasure to connect with you again. Angela, I see these names up in my thing. Angela, it is going to be a great session here. If we could chat a little bit, I got a couple of questions for you, or I want to tell you this. See, that opens doors. That starts the process, right? But ask open-ended questions. They're simply who, what, when, where, how, why, but do it naturally. Have a little idea, but here's the way you can shape those. Remember this acronym: FORM, F-O-R-M. FORM. F represents family and friends. I'm going to show you how to do this because, Brandy, you're right under my picture here as I look, and I'm just going to do it with Brandy, and I'm going to give them a real life example how this worked with us. But form represents family and friends, and then O represents your occupation, R represents recreation and hobbies, and M represents miscellaneous items that come up. Form's a great acronym to remember and a framework to remember. When you're in a group, you can use this framework as natural, ethical, and in a genuine way. I'm meeting Brandy for the first time. Brandy, hello, Brandy. My name is Bill Davis. I'm in the Department of Organizational Studies. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Bill. Thank you for asking. I am in the Department of Professional Studies.
Fantastic. Hey, we're both under the Forbes umbrella, and it's just a pleasure to connect with you. And I want to be respectful of my time here, but maybe before we get started, maybe I can learn a little bit about you, some of the people that you're closest to here in the Forbes School of Business who you might work with all the time. Maybe we've got some similarities there.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so fortunate that I get to work with a ton of amazing people in the accounting department. There's Dawn Fry, who brings a wealth of management experience and knowledge in the Center for Women's Leadership, some amazing folks. Misty, Aubrey, Gail Hoskins Long. I don't want to forget anybody, but there's a ton of folks there. And then, of course, all of our wonderful instructional designers as well.
Oh, my goodness. You know, I know Don, and I've been in a few meetings with Don, and I'll tell you, CPAs are so important in any business. And by the way, I know your past occupation was a CPA, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, boy, I'll tell you. Well, and all the other people you mentioned are just absolutely super. Can I ask you, what type of hobbies and stuff do you do? In your spare time, and what are you interested in? I got to share first though. We love puppies, we love dogs. I got 4 of them at home. We have the most fun with them, and I'm a big baseball fan. How about you?
Great question. I also have a little dog. I have a cat as well. A big animal lover. We've had lots of animals through the years. I'm a football person. I know you're a big baseball fan. I'm a huge football fan. And I love working with spreadsheets. That's probably my hobby.
Oh boy, quantitative, qualitative. I've kind of had a mix of both, but I'm more on the qualitative side. See, okay, I'm going to stop there a second, and what I want to introduce you to now, whether that's the natural dialogue you'll have in a networking session, but that's an impromptu. We didn't rehearse that. We just did it. I just, Brandy, I'm sorry for surprising you. Sometimes when you surprise people, they surprise you, but you are ready, and I want to tell you, thank you for participating in that. And that really was painless as far as I'm concerned. And that's really kind of how we met. And what happened was, from being her colleague, we started to, hey, let's have another meeting. Next thing you know, we're in a project together. Next thing you know, and all of a sudden over time, she can count on me. I can count on her. And the next thing, she'll just tell me I can't get to that now, or I can do this. But what I'm getting at is when I get into the 5, 15, 50, 1,500, Brandy's in my top 5 and 15, and we'll move in and out. Maybe if it's a project, she's more in the 5, but she's always going to be somewhere because I trust her. I can depend on her. She's reliable. She's likable. She's a great colleague and a friend. So that's what I wanted you to see. I'm going to keep moving, Brandy. I'm going to take you off the hook here now. So thank you so much for jumping in and participating. But you can see what form does. But remember, it's always good to be mindful, genuinely interested in other people. I want Brandy's success. I want my students' success. I want to see people reach their full potential. And you got to be a good listener. You got to observe the situational awareness. What you have to do is lead with EQ. Okay. So with that said, the other thing I wanted to just tell you in that FORM acronym, don't forget that because we're watching the time here. I want you to remember to be an assertive self-starter. Okay. It's the action steps, the leading action. See, don't be tentative. Go give it a try. If you fail, you fail. And I know you're going to ask me a couple questions about some of my failures, but be a self-starter, a person who begins and undertakes a project on his own initiative. I'll raise my hand and contribute to this organization any day of the week. I love what I do. I love putting out my best. Have emotional intelligence, lead with EQ, right? When I talk about leading with EQ, what I want you to remember, and I'm going to finish up these slides, be self-aware, be socially aware, be mindful of these things. What's in the room? Who's in the room? What are some preferences? What do I remember? Move yourself up a level. The more you practice this, the better you get, the more friendly you are. Golden rule, treat others like you like treated by yourself. Now, if you have a failure or something doesn't quite work, it don't always work, right? Life happens or mistakes happen, but keep going. Be self-aware, socially aware. What's around? Empathy, lead with empathy, act with compassion, service orientation, organizational awareness. What's the goals? What are we trying to achieve? But in your own behavior, understand self and understand that relationship. And Brandy, you could see that we have that whole rapport, that whole relational focus here for Forbes. And I've got the same thing with a lot of you in the room here, Misty and everybody. Misty and I were just networking yesterday, talking about some things, talking about this event. But self-management, you want to manage yourself, you want to be optimistic, trustworthy, and then you want to develop others. All right, here's my philosophy. People would say, what's your philosophy, Bill Davis, through the career? I say, grow, serve, and role model. help people, be a good role model, lead with care, empathy, act with compassion. I hope you see my passion. I'm self-aware when I need to dial that back or put it out there, but I'm purposeful. I'm doing what I love. I love our vision. Enrich, empower, support, and graduate students. I've got a purpose here, and I'm giving it back in the back end of my career. I'm going to give it all away and leave it all in the field. And when the day comes where I walk away from this is what I did. I paid it forward. Be an assertive self-starter. I'm just highlighting some of the other ones. Obviously, quality work, build positive relationships, relationship marketing, lead with servant leadership. But here's the key: be authentic, genuine, ethical, and be an inclusive leader. Embrace everyone. Be a leader coach. Team up, collaborate, create ideas, be innovative. I just came from a Chronicle meeting, and we got a great team there. I just want to remind you to be ethical. This is something that the TLC put on me out years ago. I kept it. It's just to show people you care, be a model. Talk to walk and walk to talk. And remember, people are watching more how you walk it than you talk it. And have a high value. Always, always, always have a respect for others. Treat them as equal and embrace diversity. Be optimistic. Okay. Just because you're optimistic doesn't mean you don't see the challenges. It just means you see them as challenges and you're going to navigate through this. John Maxwell says the optimist sees the glass half full, the pessimist sees it half empty, and the realist knows you got to wash it and put it away. That's a little humor, but I believe that. When I would negotiate with people, I always look for that win-win. I'm after the relationship, I'm after the goal. This is how I approach business. And I lead with empathy and compassion, act with compassion here. So sometimes I might go in a smoothing condition and let things kind of go where they need to for the best interest of the person, because I know they're going to be back in a win-win trust condition. I know people can do it. This is a live link to a leadership book. I'm just going to give you this as a bonus that I did with Dr. Charlie Minnick and Dr. Marty McAuliffe. We did this a few years ago. It's just stay engaged. It's essential. Some wisdom and knowledge. Here's the references. Listen, I thank you for seeing this presentation. Now, why don't I stop sharing my screen and let's get into the Q&A, because at the very end of this, Misty promised me that she is going to do her word out to see what everybody learned today or what they're going to take away. And what I hope to accomplish, I hope to exit here in about 10 minutes or so, Brandy, only because I have to attend a review. Our external reviewers are in. We're reviewing my BA of Operations Management Analysis program, so I have a 2:45 to make. So with that said, let's go ahead and ask me whatever questions you want, and I'll do my very best to give you some answers and add some more value. How am I doing so far with everybody in the chat? Am I talking too fast? Are you getting anything out of this? That's my hope, that you walk away. There we go. I see a heart there by Michael. Thank you. I'm giving you my best. This is what I'm all about. What you see is what you get. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, Brandy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're doing great, Bill. There's been tons of great conversation going on in the chat the whole session. So we truly appreciate your knowledge that you're sharing with us today. Now, you have a bigger professional network than anyone else I know. So tell me, who is someone that you only met because of your networking skills?
Well, I'm going to talk two things because I want to tell you, I'm a big baseball fan, right? I met Ron Kittle, Rookie of the Year, worked with him in Indiana Charities, White Sox in the 80s. And I'm going to tell you that I met Ron through another baseball player, Moose Scourin. He said, go talk to him. And the next thing I became friends with Ron. And then on a business side, I have to tell you that I have met people like Chuck Muth, who you know yourself now, who he's someone in your network out in the fringes. But Chuck was the chief marketing officer for Beyond Meats, and he did an event with us last year. But I met him through our marketing team, developed a rapport. And the next thing you know, he's in my network. We stay in touch. The LinkedIn, whether it's a phone call, whether he's on my Rolodex. In the old days, we used to do the Rolodex, right? We collect the cards. In today's technical world, we have them all right here on this wonderful cell phone that does about 15 things for us. So there you go.
Great. All right. Well, this is a fun question, and I can tell a lot of our audience members are going to enjoy this because I saw lots of people posting in the chat that they are introverts, and I can tell you I'm a natural introvert too. And as introverts, what is our biggest fear? Our biggest fear is that we're going to put ourselves out there and we are going to do something embarrassing. We're going to fall on our face. We are going to say something silly, but you know what? Those moments happen to all of us. So what is your most embarrassing networking moment?
Well, I'm going to tell you, in the 7-Up business, we had a prospect, right? We would build the routes up. I bought this distributorship. And I was 19 years old, right? And I borrowed money from my grandma. I had this route truck. I'm driving around an area, rural area. And I'm going to build this business. I'm all gung-ho. I'm pumped up, right? I'm going to get new business. And I didn't see this one account in the route book. So I pulled in there as I'm driving. And I seen it looked like a tavern, had a sign, had, no, there was no cars there yet, right? Other than a few. And I went, well, I'm going to drop in here. I'm going to sell them some of our products. I'm going to just pick up another customer on the way to this town, right? So there I was. I had my shirt on. I walked through that door and I come walking in and I said, hello there. I'll just assume it's you, Brandy. Hello, Brandy. My name is Bill Davis and I'm with the Joyce Beverages 7-Up and I'm the new distributor in this area. And I just wanted to drop in and introduce myself and see if it's possible, maybe we could do some business. Well, what happened is that lady looked at me and she said, sir, I have to tell you, this is a house. This is not a tavern. We live here. We just never took the sign down. So the point is, I looked at that and I thought, holy moly. But the point that I'm making is I was always looking, and I apologize. And, there was no problem. I mean, I didn't go other than the entryway, but I thought, I opened the door thinking I'd be in a tavern or something, a restaurant type thing. But I've had all kinds of situations extending myself where I pick up and I go, they're not interested, right? Well, you're not going to make everybody happy, right? And look for those favorabilities. Relax. Life happens, right? Sometimes it just happens. And I like that comment by Holly. I'm a networker who tends to meet one person per event. That's pretty good. You're building rapport and you'll meet others through that. So thank you for that, Holly. But no, if you fail, you fail, right? I mean, we've all failed. You catch somebody at the wrong time. But listen, when you embrace these principles, the golden rule, and your intent is good, people eventually pick up on that, in my opinion. So hope you like that example. That's a true story.
I love it. I love it. All right. I know we're getting close on time here. I think this is something everybody can really benefit from. What is one thing that you wish you would have known when you were first starting out in your career?
That's a hard one. What I'll tell you is, experience is good. Evaluated experience is better. So the more of these experiences you have, do the kind of pro-con reasoning, where you can say what worked, what didn't work, right? And what could I have done better? And I think a lot of times, I just relied on, being aggressive, assertive, and getting out there when I think I'm more analytical today. So I think when I look at the value and I see the potential outcomes, I guess, or why don't I pause a little bit on this one? I'll go back to this one later, but I'm still positive and I'm still optimistic. But I think I have a much more a more seasoned, more experienced. And so maybe I wish in the beginning, even I wish I had a little more of that seasoning, because what I've done is learn on the job, off the job, and through the job, even whether that's with teaching, I've taught 300 courses now. And I learned through that in those first 10 and first 15, and you continue to get better. But I never, ever want to see people not keep putting their very best out there, making progress. Next question.
Absolutely. And what I'll tell our audience members, since we are running out of time here and we're going to have to get Bill out of here in just a few minutes, if you guys have additional questions for Bill, you can feel free to send those to myself or Misty. And we will we'll get together with Bill and we'll put together some answers for you. All right. So for our audience members, if you can think of something, go ahead and put it in the chat. And we'll give Bill one last question that I know everybody can benefit from. If audience members could walk away from today's event knowing one thing from you, Bill, what do you want them to know?
Well, what I would tell you is simply self-care. Remember, you're special. These are conversations. All you have to do is just live your life and just believe in yourself a little bit and realize, all right, you broke something, right? You tried it, it didn't work. I think if you go out there and you just practice a little bit and you realize that Here, I'll leave you with this. I'm a baseball fan. If a player goes up to the plate, and I used to think like this, if I get a hit 1 out of 3 times, that's a .333 batting average. Okay, that's in the major leagues. That would be, of course, I didn't play major leagues, but that would be a superstar. That would be wow. Now, but you're going to fail those other 2 times, right? So don't expect to hit 100 all the time. I mean, there's going to be bad days. There's going to be something went wrong. You're going to interrupt somebody. I mean, but be natural, be genuine. Be genuine and authentic as you network. Okay. And that's my advice for you. Focus, work hard, keep balance of all your roles in life. Relax. Murphy's Law. Sometimes life happens, but make sure you're having a little fun as you influence positive outcomes and generate meaningful results. That's my message. Be authentic and genuine, and be good to yourself, right? Because life brings us a lot of challenges. And if we don't step aside sometimes and go, not a bad day, we did good. That's the way you want to look at life, my opinion. And you never, never, never quit, right? You take a rest, or you take a break, you take a nap, but you never quit. You never quit persevering and doing the best you can. And I'll leave you with this because I'm going to run to the meeting. What I wanted to say, I invited Misty in here, Brandy, because Misty's a big part of this, to kind of wrap it up and do what you want to do and have other further discussion. But if anybody wants to reach out at me, bill.davis@uagc.edu. I would be happy to coach, help, take some time. I've done that many times. So good luck to the Center for Women's Leadership. Keep doing great stuff. You are moving things forward. So thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much, Bill, for a great presentation. We have a question we want to ask you, and I'm going to send this to Bill. Bill, I know you need to go. I will send this to you. But
okay.
We want you to take out your phone, and you can scan the QR code here. You can also go, if you're on your laptop, go to sendstep.me, and it's going to ask for a code, and your code is UAGC. You can also use your phone to text, and you can text UAGC, and then I have a special question. So I'm gonna leave this up for just a second, so you can get to that page. And we are going to get some information from you. It's also here on the bottom where it says you can text 712-294-0202. And then the code is UAGC. The question Bill wants to know is, what is one word that will sum up your learning from today's presentation with him? So just text a word that sums up something that's going to be a key takeaway for you. Ooh, I like that. Authenticity. Yes, he really talks about just being authentic, being you. When I'm an introvert, Bill talks about how he's an extrovert. I'm an introvert. So when I go to networking events, or if I need to network with somebody, sometimes, like if I'm going to an event, I go early so I can kind of like scope out my space, but I show up who I am, right? That is just me being authentic. I actually was at a networking event last night with CEOs from the local area, and it was interesting because you see people in their silos, and it took a lot of energy for me to want to approach a group that was already having a conversation, but it takes practice for me to be able to be comfortable doing that. And so I go in with 1 or 2 questions, and I go in with, my plan is I'm only going to talk to 2 people. If my goal is, if I can be intentional about meeting 2 people, then I think I did a good job for that evening, because I would rather have greater conversations, more in depth with 2 people versus meeting 10 people and not really getting anything out of those conversations. So think about what kind of a plan is going to work best for you. The words are coming in: positivity, assertiveness. So a little thing that I like to share about assertiveness, I like to define assertiveness as say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean. So that is how I like to see assertiveness, is like I need to, be honest, right? Be authentic, but not saying something in a mean way. Self-care. Yes. Again, I kind of talked a little bit about how I do self-care before I go into a networking event, or even asking, right? Like building your network enough to ask, like, hey, Brandy guides me a lot on a lot of things because she's, experienced in different areas than I'm experienced in. And so I feel confident enough for self-care to say, hey, Brandy, do you mind helping me or teaching me or guiding me or mentoring me? Because that's just what self-care is about. I love it. Keep the words coming in. Genuine, perseverance, being sincere, commonality. Yes. Brandy, what are your thoughts on some of these words you're seeing on the screen?
Yeah, absolutely. I go back to kind of the genuine and authenticity, because I think that's one of the most important things. Because my thoughts are this, when you meet someone and you're interacting with them, oftentimes it's really easy to tell if they're not necessarily being genuine or authentic. If maybe, maybe they're trying to network with you to get to someone else, or, whatever the case may be. And I think that's one of the things that, people want to be heard and they want to be seen.
Yeah.
And if they don't feel like you're genuine and that you're really seeing them and that you're really interested in them, then the networking is just not going to be very successful.
Yeah. Just because this is so fresh on my mind and it happened last night, and I am the chair for the Center for Women's Leadership, and I like to promote women leadership. So I want to share something that happened at this networking event I went to last night. As I said, it was it was called Executives Night Out, and it was about local CEOs or part of this group, and they come together so they can network and learn about other organizations that might be doing something similar, different, just to network. And when I walked in the room, I was the only woman of color, and it was about 90% male. I was a part of a group that came with 3 females. So there was a total of 4 of us. We were all females from a female-owned firm. And later throughout the evening, I probably seen about 2 other females. So again, 90% of this population was male. And so as we were going around and having conversations with the different people, one of my colleagues brought up an individual to introduce to our group. And I, kind of like Brandy said, make space for others and be welcome and create that sense of belonging. I stepped to the side to open the circle up, right? So the other 2 individuals can therefore join the circle of the conversation that was going on. And my colleague looked at me and was like, hey, Misty, I want to introduce you to Bill, right? I don't know what his name was, but I want to introduce you to Bill. And so I stuck my hand out to shake his hand, and he completely disregarded me and went straight to the CEO of the organization that I was there with. And, like stuck his hand out to her, like he was so eager to meet her. He completely discredited and did not want to engage with me. And others in that circle seeing what he did to me, right? And so going back to being genuine, being self-care for me, I'm not going to personalize it. At first, it's kind of like a shock, like, oh, that was odd, that was different, right? And you kind of feel excluded. So I could have internalized that and kind of shut down and felt some kind of uncomfortable feelings because of that. But I ignored it like that's his issue, not my issue. So I want you to know that there might be some times that you come across an event, or you might be somewhere and you're trying to be friendly. And then I don't want that to ever turn you away from not engaging in networking conversations again. Just because I had that experience, I'm not going to let that own me, because that's not my issue, right? That's that gentleman's issue who, did not want to engage in a friendly way. And so that's my key to you. And I know sometimes women might face this a little bit more than males do, especially women of color. We tend to have a little bit more time where we tend to have more challenges with individuals wanting to embrace in a conversation. And sometimes it has to take some initiative on our end to start some of these conversations and to put ourselves in those vulnerable situations. But it has always panned out. I've always had great experiences. Again, initially, I think a few years ago, I would have probably internalized it and, even affirm the reasons why I don't like to network, but hang in there. I just want you to continue, even if it's on a Zoom call or, I know a lot of us do remote things, but there's something really neat about those in-person networking events. So what I like to tell people is to get involved in associations within your industry. So I'm in leadership, so I'm a part of the International Leadership Association. They have events. I'm part of human resources group. So I attend Society for Human Resource Association events. I'm a member with them. Brandy, which ones do you and your industry network with?
Well, I am a CPA, so I have a tendency to be a member of the AICPA, and then of course like state level CPA societies. One thing I wanted to jump in with, and I hope that's okay, Misty, but
Yeah.
thank you for being brave and sharing that story with us. And I think it really highlights something else that we may not have really touched on here. And I think that's the importance of being open-minded, because clearly this guy that you encountered was not open-minded in the slightest. And not only was his conduct towards you offensive, but he probably offended a lot of other people there, simply because he failed to be open-minded. I think we all sit here and we certainly hope that would never be us, that we're not going to be that closed-minded person in the room. But maybe before you go into a networking event, maybe we should just all remind ourselves, hey, be open-minded, and be ready to meet not just some new people, but everybody, and be ready to recognize the value that everyone can bring to your network. So that's just something I wanted to say there, but thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you. Anybody have any final thoughts or questions or anything that you would like to add to our conversation today as we begin to wrap up? Well, I did put the link to our LinkedIn page. If you're not already a member of our LinkedIn group, click that and join, become a member. We always promote different events. We have one more event this year that is really talking about some self-care. And so that is next Thursday at 12 p.m. PT time. Again, it's our last event for the year. Join us and learn about some good self-care as we go into this holiday season. Brandy, I want to thank you so much for being a part of our CWL Center and for leading our conversation today.
Thank you. And thank you to our attendees. We couldn't do this without you guys. So thank you so much to all of you guys that support us at all of these events. And we hope to see you at the workshop next week.
Yes. Thank you, Nancy.